Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Future Branches webinar sponsored by Coconut Software, the importance of humanizing engagements for financial institutions and finding the right partner to help. Thank you for joining us. Before we begin, I'd like to bring your attention to the console in front of you. All the windows you see can be maximized, minimized, or repositioned to fit the device you're using to connect with us today. If you accidentally minimize a window, don't worry. Simply pop into the toolbar at the bottom of your screen to bring it back up. And on the same toolbar, you'll find the Resource Center, where you can access documents related to this webinar's content. So feel free to download anything you see in there. And we're going to try and save some time at the end of today's discussion for audience Q&A. So please feel free to submit questions for our speakers at any time during our presentation using that Q&A portal at that toolbar at the bottom of your screen. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Andre Doucette, Senior Solutions Engineer at Coconut. Take it away, Andre.
Cool, thanks, Morgan. Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to have you join us today for our panel discussion. We're going to be continuing our webinar series here, focusing on the importance of humanizing engagements for your current and prospective customers. Today, we're going to be digging pretty deep into how you find the right partner to help you in your journey humanizing banking at your institution. So my name is Andre Doucette. I'm the Senior Solutions Engineer at Coconut Software. I'll be your host during the session today. We got joined by three guests today, Michelle, Chris, and Jay, for a chat about how they've ramped up their customer engagement experiences through this pandemic, as well as chat about how they identify and select their software vendors. So if you're not familiar with Coconut Software, we create a beautifully designed and powerful solution that helps financial institutions who want to improve their customers' digital and physical engagements with your brand. Our suite of cloud-based solutions provides a way to seamlessly schedule, measure, and manage client, prospect, and staff interactions. So we will be doing a QA session at the end of the presentation. So be sure to submit your questions through the Q&A and chat functionality. There's also a few resources in there, as Morgan was talking about, you can download. You're going to receive a link to the webinar in the next day or so you can share that out after as well. Right, so I started at Coconut Software a few years ago as product manager. Coconut kind of has two kinds of engagements. We have like pre-booked appointments that have like an assigned time that you have chosen as the appointment booker. And then we have our lobby management like walk-in solution where a client arrives at your location without a pre-booked appointment. So that walk-in lobby management solution, that's my baby that I built at Coconut. So you should check it out if you haven't used it or you haven't seen it yet, because I think it's pretty great. My background in user experience really helps me build up a deep empathy for your clients and your staff. Also, my wife has been at a large CU, a Canadian CU, for over a decade. So I have a really deep empathy for the kind of legacy systems that she has to use every day. So I'm really on a mission to create really good software that helps her and her colleagues every day. So as the Senior Solutions Engineer, I'm working closely with our customers and prospects to make sure that the solutions that we're building at Coconut here are a good fit for your business needs. And then I'm helping recommending workflows that really level up kind of your adoption of Coconut across your branch network, and being your voice to our engineering and product teams to make sure that our long-term goals are aligning with what you need. Just one note here that I'll be using client, customer, and member interchangeably throughout this talk. Those are the people who are booking appointments for your institution. So what are we doing here? Why are we talking about humanizing banking? Well, no matter how deep you go into this digital transformation with apps and CRMs and chatbots, so far we haven't found a way to replace the human connection yet. There's efficiencies to all those digital engagements that make real economic sense, those self-serve digital channels. But there's some services that your clients actually need that actually can't be done through AI right now. Like there's regulations or what kind of communications that have to be done with a real human. So thankfully, those are kind of those high value engagements that you have with your clients are really those like advisory services, those human to human conversations around their important life events that have that human touch. These are high value for both you and your banking customers. They double as revenue generating engagements and as relationship and trust building engagements between your banking customers and your advisors. Humanizing banking means that we really understand that we understand that there's a time and a place where your clients need high-touch human engagements to complement those super convenient digital services and digital self-serve channels that you're already providing today. Much of our world treats individuals today like numbers with minimal concern for the person behind the digits. My personal experience is actually worse than that. I don't even feel like a number. Like most people in North America, I have products actually a bunch of financial institutions. And for me personally, I think they're actually all pretty bad at making me feel important and that they really care about my needs. Like I don't have an assigned account manager that I can reach out to as my main point of contact. And so I'm actually struggling to build these relationships with advisors at my institutions. And I'm a millennial. I'm like that prime market that you should care about me. And I feel like they don't really care about me. And that's really sad as somebody who's actually building software to help humanize banking here. Consumers really want to spend their limited time on the people and experiences that we find valuable. So Coconut really tries to make those human engagements as convenient as those self-serve digital channels that you already offer today. Coconut gives back your clients some time in their schedule by removing friction, to get those human-to-human contact that they need. This really helps you demonstrate that you understand the value of your client's time, and it allows you to personalize their engagements and interactions to help build that more personal connection. So here's some results of a report that we commissioned with Future Branches that asked banking customers their thoughts on how they prefer to bank with their financial institution. It shows that the majority, over 70%, prefer a digital experience either through a mobile app or on their desktop. No surprises there. There's unlikely that trend is not going to continue to actually get bigger and bigger. But the most interesting part is that those same respondents believe that it's important to build a relationship with your bank personnel, with your employees, with their advisors. Another study from PwC showed that almost 60% of their consumers here feel that companies have lost touch with the human element of customer experience, which is, I'm in that 60% for sure, definitely feel that personally. To me, this means that for those transactional day-to-day type of activities, your members or your clients are looking for those digital options. But when it comes to those larger and more complex transactions like buying a house or investing their lottery winnings, your clients really want to leverage your expertise and advisory services, those expertise of your advisors in your branches. This trusted relationship is important to make them feel like they're a real human that you actually care about. So shouldn't come too much of a shock to anybody out there, but it's official. We're in an appointment economy now. This is the reality that we're in. Your clients want to complete their transactions and get advice in a way that's convenient for them, which now no longer only means dropping into the branch when they're driving home from work. Our research has found that your clients and prospects want a mix of engagement types. They feel like they should be encouraged to use convenient digital options when it's a low-value transaction that can be done self-serve, but welcomed into their local branches when advisory and life milestones need to actually have those deep human discussions. So banking customers want the convenience to access multiple channels. So when customers use their preferred channels, their engagement actually improves a lot. And as a result, those engaged customers that get to choose the channel that is best for them spend more money and are more likely to stay with the bank. Now, that's also probably not news to you. You're already focusing on creating those digital engagements, and that's for a good reason. And the 2020 Future Branches study found that 93% of consumers feel that their banks and websites actually are suiting their needs today, and that 50% of them are really looking to their mobile banking experience over their other online banking or in-branch banking experiences. Another trend that I suspect is not going anywhere except deeper. In that same Future Branches report, we found that almost 40 banking customers visit a branch just to use the ATM, which means that 60% of them had to go into the branch. So there's still a fair amount of people that engage in the human-to-human interactions here. So just over a quarter of them say that they had to wait in line to actually get service at their last visit. And based on the qualitative responses, like how they actually feel about it, long lines are most prevalent grievances here. When they asked about the most difficult thing, they say things like lines, long lines, wait times, waiting. Those are really popular responses, which is a pretty common, I guess, across most institutions and has been exacerbated in some demographics during COVID. There's actually, when you have to wait outside, I'm up here in Canada, the lines outside here are very cold. And so not the actual best queuing experience. So one way to help kind of reduce these lines and wait times is to encourage to book an appointment to come in so you don't have to stand outside when it's very chilly or raining. Or super hot, depending on where you are, I guess. That could be a different kind of issue that I'm not as familiar with. But also, I want to make it easy for your clients to self-serve when they actually get to your branch. So for example, a significant portion of clients said that they prefer to see clearly displayed waiting times. They'd like to see scheduling tools for setting meetings with associates and having interactive signage the next time that they come to their branch to help them as part of that queuing experience. They're also really excited to see personalized interactions with their banking apps, as well as communication through that. So two-way communication that happens digitally, not just in person. And then some video tellers and smart ATMs. So during COVID here, there's a new interesting use case. A lot of branches actually have branch limits and how much headcount you can have in the branch at the same time. And so using Coconut, using our solution, you can a client can walk into the branch and then chat with a greeter or use a self-serve QR code posted on the door. And then they can go and just wait in their car when it's either got the AC on or the heat on, depending where you live. So Coconut will send them a text when they can come back, when their advisor is ready to meet with them, so that they can safely re-enter the branch. So no waiting in line, no need to take up a teller's time, scheduling an appointment, doing calendar lookups. It's meant to have this queuing and appointment booking together, all while maintaining safe distancing. So talking about humanizing banking here, it's important to your clients, it's important to your bottom line, it's important for these long-term trust relationships that you're building between your advisors and your banking customers. So let's move over here to talk about how to choose a vendor to help you humanize banking at your institution. So Coconut's been doing this for a little while, about 10 years or so. And we found there's three kind of main considerations that we bump into quite a bit across all the different institutions that we talk to. Number one, how do you want your members, bank customers, or clients to engage with your brand? So before you can really look at what options are out there for vendors, you need to really pin down what it is that you want your solution to do. There's a big difference here between what you need and what you would be kind of nice to have. So the first step is usually to take a look at some issues across your organization to better understand what kind of solution you need today. Is it actually lineups that are around the block outside in the winter? That's a really present issue right now that you should be looking at. Or is it about creating new leads for new prospects? So you're actually looking to drum up new business. You also should take a look at your strategic vision for the future to make sure that you're not selecting vendors that are going to sandbox you into specific solutions without allowing you to expand in the future. Taking a look at kind of these capabilities before you start the vendor engagement process means that you're able to prioritize your key challenges that you're facing and mapping out the capabilities or workflows that are going to be necessary as part of a successful. Number two, so what integrations, analytics, and reporting are you going to need, especially how do you evaluate the success of a software implementation and meeting your business objectives? So for Coconut, we got this trifecta of scheduling, measuring, and managing of engagements. So the measure piece here is an essential value for a solution like Coconut and any solution that does engagement management. So by examining the problems that you're trying to solve internally and externally, you can work backwards to identify kind of how this new solution needs to work and to fit in within your existing systems to make sure that you're measuring what you're looking to change, because you can't change it if you're not measuring it. So one issue that we've encountered here a lot is that there isn't always a baseline data set to understand the status quo. So how many appointments are you taking today? Well, what's the conversion rate and what's the no-show rate of those appointments? That baseline allows you to actually evaluate your new vendors when you do pilots and when you do rollouts, as well as your long-term iteration on making sure that you're providing the best customer experience. One important factor here are actually the integrations to your existing system. I talked about earlier your legacy banking solutions. Those are a little tricky to kind of always touch as an external third-party vendor here. But the core question here is, how are your staff going to interact with this new solution, this engagement solution that's really helping you humanize banking in your institution? The more deeply you're integrated your solution is within your existing tools, that helps, it's less friction for your advisors, less kind of change management for them. Now, this comes out with a trade-off. So some of those deep integrations are kind of out of the box. It just happens, like a Salesforce integration. But others may be custom development that could require some additional engineering resources here. And that's going to be vendor specific. So if you need something custom, be sure to dig into really deep into what a process like that would look like for a vendor, how involved you can be in the decision making of how that integration could work. A good vendor is going to treat you like a partner and not just like a customer. Number 3, what key advantages does a vendor provide above the other ones? So, we're all competing in the same space here, and the competition between vendors to win your business means that we're all investing in improving our software to help meet the demands of what you actually need and pushing you to be better and providing better customer experiences. So choosing a vendor that's receptive to your feedback and deeply integrated into the financial institution space means that you have a direct hand in the future development of the solution that you're buying. Financial institutions have a lot more influence on vendors than you might think. You're not going to own the source code or anything, but when you choose a vendor that treats you like a partner, you're able to provide feedback and suggest changes and have a say on updates, features, and future releases. This ability comes down to who you work with. Not every vendor is going to be able to provide you that same level of control and input. So those are the 3 kind of main considerations that we've seen when it comes to doing a good job of evaluating potential vendors. Let's move it over to our panel and introduce our 3 guests who are going to chat with us further about humanizing banking, vendor selection, and working with Coconut. So, up first, we got Michelle Fitro from Arvest Bank. Been working with Michelle for a couple of months now. I guess it was middle of last year, rolling out Coconut at Arvest, and love working with Arvest Bank. Such a forward-thinking institution. And so, Michelle, you want to give us a quick intro?
Absolutely. Thank you, Andre. I really appreciate it. Good afternoon, everyone. Michelle Fitro. I'm with Arvest Bank, as Andre said. We are located in the south central part of the United States. We're about a $24 billion bank with more than 270 locations and about 6,000 associates. So my role at the bank is I'm a product senior analyst, so I'm responsible for leveraging any digital products or platforms that exist so that we can sell products and services, engage our customers, and really just support our team's initiatives. We have departments that focus on wealth, mortgage, lending, core banking, business, treasury, equipment finance. So we really have a wide variety of associates trying to support their customers in several different markets. So appreciate the opportunity to share some of our experience with Coconut this afternoon.
Nice. Thanks, Michelle. Up next, we got Chris Odie from CU 2.0. This is actually a new partnership for Coconut, and I'm super excited to see kind of how our synergies are going to be working together moving forward. So, Chris, you want to tell us a little bit about CU 2.0 and give a little intro for yourself there?
Sure. I'm Chris Odie, with the co-founder and chief revenue officer at CU 2.0. I come to CU 2.0 after 18 years at Fiserv, working all around the financial institution division of Fiserv with all the different core providers. And I also spent some time with a company called CU Wallet, which is a mobile payments initiative. And in addition to my role today at CU 2.0, I'm also the chairman of the board of South Bay Credit Union in Redondo Beach, California. We are a small financial institution, about 100 million and about 10,000 members. At CU 2.0, which is I suppose why I'm here today, it's our job, it's our mission to find innovative fintech companies. Of course, that might be duplicate, right? Innovative and fintech generally go hand in hand. But to find fintech solutions that will actually help financial institutions, and specifically credit unions is what we focus on. And that's one of the reasons we're so excited to be working with Coconut Software. We believe before the pandemic, and now especially after the pandemic, that this shift to appointment-based economy is going to happen. And we're very excited about Coconut's role in that.
Cool. Yeah, really excited to kind of dig deeper into your background in Fiserv there. Really interested to see kind of what kind of synergies you're going to get with CU 2.0 and Coconut. So up next we got Jay Rodriguez from Tandia. So Tandia has been a customer of Coconut's for a long time. It's been many years, I think, one of the early adopters of Coconut. So really excited to have you join here, someone that's actually got kind of feet on the ground and really seeing how this has been impacting institutions. So you want to give us a little bit of background here, Jay?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Really happy to be part of the panel today. My name is Jay Rodriguez. I'm a regional manager at Tandia Financial Credit Union. Tandia is a mid-sized credit union. We're located in Southern Ontario, Canada. And we really revolve around three different values: respect, integrity, and innovation. And in Coconut, I think we found a very good partner in those three areas. Our focus and my focus within my role is to really move both employee engagement, but also our member engagement, what we call clients. Our members are key and central to everything that we do. And what we're trying to do now is really meet them where they are. During this pandemic, it's of extreme importance. And we believe that we will have to be proactive, nimble, quick to adapt in order to stay at the front of everything that's going on with our financial institution and in this market. So Coconut is a great partner for us, and really looking forward to discussing how our engagement with our clients or members can improve using tools such as this one. So thank you, Coconut, for the opportunity, and look forward to speaking to all of you in future.
Nice. Thanks, Jay. All right, so we got a couple of questions that we're going to run through here to help ground some of these discussions. So first is, why does your organization feel that human engagements are important? This is actually a pretty interesting question that in banking has, I think, like an undertone that it's like, well, clearly we want these human engagements to be important here, but there's also this efficiency piece that comes from the digital self-serve channels here. So, so kind of more broadly, if you want to talk about organizations, why the organization thinks that human engagements are important and how that kind of trade-off between the digital and human side of things. I'd like to put up Michelle for this one first. What do you think about this, Michelle?
Yeah, great question. So, this is really at the core of our mission. Arvest was founded on, the importance of providing that one-on-one customer service, being very engaged in our community, being out there, being present, really understanding what our community needed from their bank, and then delivered accordingly. And I think as time went on and digital products and services kind of became the norm, I think it was very difficult for us to really grasp the concept that we can still be, that support team to our customers through a digital channel. It did not have to necessarily be in person in an office setting. It could be done through, a digital platform. It could be done through video. And really just understanding that we needed to be where our customers were. And as our customers became, busier, and it's just the convenience that came with digital solutions, it really led us to really think through what is a human interaction. Is it truly that in-person connection, or is it just simply providing support to the customer based on what was easiest and most convenient for them? And so, I think we used to recognize our associates for kind of the work they did above and beyond just their normal everyday business. So, whether it is helping a customer change a flat tire in a drive-through, or, we even had associates taking customers to appointments because, they had transportation issues. And so, that can't happen today, but that doesn't mean we still can't be there for the customer and go that extra mile to connect them to, someone that they needed to talk to, connect business owners with other business owners that may be struggling with similar issues. So just kind of look at redefining what human connection is and what it means to us. And so I think it's really, especially during COVID, been interesting to have to pivot to, kind of keeping our mission alive and stay true to our culture. But maybe the channel that's used is different than it was, prior to the onset of COVID-19. So, like you said, it's, I think we've always prided ourselves on being, that personal, giving that personal touch to something that's, very transactional in nature, such as banking. But I think with the digital introductions and just the changes, we've had to even, further evaluate that over time. So it is important to us, and I think Coconut has allowed us to really, create that connection between our associates and our community now that they're not able to maybe use the branch like they were able to before.
Well, Michelle, if someone had changed my tire in a drive-thru, I definitely would have felt more important than I do right now. That's an interesting story.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, for sure. So Jay, do you think that's pretty similar at Tandia, or do you have a different kind of take on that?
I definitely do. I think that, in the credit union world, we put a big emphasis on member service and really getting to know our member. That's a big differentiating factor right now. Our members come into Tandia and we know them by name. We know what their family situation is. We have conversations about their grandkids and their pets and whatnot. But it's important to maintain that human engagement, because when we talk about these items, such as more of the technical items, more all of the different back-end things that we want to have our members or clients adopt, all of those items that currently are alternate channels to them, who's going to educate them with that? It is difficult for our members or clients to have these types of financial conversations with family. Sometimes they don't want to. Sometimes they don't want to have those conversations with their friends. But in us, they look for that engagement, so that maybe if we're going to try to engage with them on a more alternate channel type of basis, that we're going to be that connecting factor, where they feel that sometimes they're losing connection with an alternate channel. We are the engagement that's going to get them there. So for Tandia, it's very important for us to continue to promote alternate channels of banking, especially during the pandemic, but at the same time, for us to be the motor to get the member to adapt and to embrace that new technology. I think that is still a form in which we as humans can engage, but also educate. I think that's a big focus for us right now.
Yeah, that's great. That's really interesting. So Chris, when you kind of look across all of your different, at CU 2.0, you work with lots of institutions and lots of different technology there. So how do you see human engagements and the importance level of it now and how it's been changing over the last little while?
I think what I'm seeing is the financial institutions understand that the human engagement piece isn't going to go away, right? As much as we talk about digital transformation and the push towards getting rid of certain delivery channels, we're never going to get rid of them. We, as financial institutions, we don't get rid of delivery channels. We just keep adding delivery channels on. And so we're trying not to alienate people. I think with the beautiful thing I like about Coconut, digitizing the human experience is that we can push members to digital for what my dad would call the knucklehead stuff, right? I need to deposit a check. I need to take out $20. I need to check my balance, stuff like that. And we can use Coconut to engage with the members on a deeper level, the clients, the customers, the members, however you want to refer to them, for more valuable transactions, right? Now, and Coconut is definitely enabling the financial institutions to go to where the market's going, right? The market's going, I'll give you an example. When we're done here, I'm going to go to lunch, right? I'm going to go over to Shake Shack. I'm going to walk over there and I'm going to pick up a burger. Pre-pandemic, I'd have walked over there, stood in line, ordered my burger, got my burger, and walked back. Post-pandemic, I'm going to use the app. I'm going to schedule it. I'm going to walk over there. It's going to be in a bag with my name on it. I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to leave. That's the way I think that's the trend that's happening with everything from Shake Shack to Bank of America, right? Everyone's going to appointment-based banking and everyone's becoming more efficient. And I believe Coconut's going to enable financial institutions to do that.
That's cool. I like the idea here of like, we're not getting rid of other channels. We just keep adding more ways that people can continue to engage with us. So, more convenience and more human engagements. Love that idea.
Yeah, people are still using audio response, the telephone banking, right? We thought that would have been dead years ago, but here it is, and it's still being used. We're just augmenting the delivery channels. And I think what it really gets back to is customizing the experience for the consumer. Right? Some people may want to come in that way. We're not telling people how to come in. We're just trying to make everything available to them.
Right. Those IVR things are still around, huh? Okay. That's cool. All right, let's move on to the next question here. This, I guess, is primarily in the context of the pandemic, about what's been surprising in the change in the way in which you engage. But I'm actually pretty curious if you have kind of more broad, surprising changes. We have some people that have been in the industry for a really long time here. So kind of curious about if there's a historical lens on some of that question as well. But primarily, I guess, after the pandemic, what's the most surprising thing that's changed here? Let's start with Jay.
Sure. I think, when we think about how banking is changing, we usually position certain age groups and demographics. And we usually think about this person likes this style, this person likes telephone banking, this person likes online banking, this person likes coming and seeing a teller. But one of the most surprising things that we've noticed is that it's not necessarily that certain people are just completely turned off by the thought of digital banking or alternate channels. It's just the fact that they need to have it brought to them. So I think Coconut Calendar allows us to be able to get close to them within their comfort zone, and allow them to have those options. I think, we always try to categorize people, but the most important thing to keep in mind is that comfort is universal. And I think that our members are always looking for the easiest solution in order to get what they need. It's what makes us different is our ability to provide that easiest solution in a way that's going to resonate with them. When we talk about the changes with COVID and all of those different ways in which it's changed our day-to-day, one of the things that I'm surprised of is the fact that when we consider our staffs within branches, they have sometimes neglected how much they can impact the comfort of our members. So sometimes, in the way that our staff has adopted Coconut Calendar, we've seen that it's been a benefit for them, but it's also been a benefit for the member. We thought that this would be difficult for staff to engage with. We thought that maybe they would have a hard time being able to handle items such as online booking and whatnot. But at the end of the day, we've found that it's been a positive on all fronts. And it is still very possible to become financially successful as financial institutions in this pandemic world, as long as we're willing to adapt and be at the forefront of it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Like being surprised by the fact that people would adopt these kinds of other tools. That's QR codes for me. That's always been this piece of tech that I'm like, nobody gets what this is. And then overnight, literally QR codes everywhere, and now everybody knows what this is. So I think that's super interesting. So Chris, when you kind of look across your other institutions there, what's been the most surprising change for you?
I think the most surprising change, I'll give you a personal example and then a more global macro example. Personal example is the way my 80-year-old mother is able to order ahead with Starbucks in the app, right? And that gets to the more macro thing, is that we're seeing the digital generation is not the younger generation. It is all generations. I don't even like to pigeonhole it as younger versus older. I like to say the digital savvy group versus the non-digital savvy group. And the most surprising thing has been the acceptance of digital by the older generations, that their ability to adapt it and become digitally savvy is fantastic. And I think you're going to see nothing but that trend continuing, right? Once you discover how to be digital and how to interact with your financial institution digitally, even if it's making an appointment to come in, you're not going to regress and you're not going to go back. The example I commonly like to use is with remote deposit capture, right? Once you figure out how to do that, you're not going back. And I think once people adopt appointment-based banking and scheduling, they won't go back. And Jay, did you notice that Andre dropped? I think we're in charge now.
I can kind of take over because it looks like Andre has probably lost internet connection. So the joys of technology. Michelle,
we can handle it.
Yeah, Michelle, do you want to add on to this question?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would echo what Jay and Chris said. I mean, I think we make some assumptions based on age or whatever, location, so rural versus urban. And we've really had to pivot and encourage all customers to utilize the appointment scheduling tool, to utilize Coconut, because, we are limited to how many we can have in our banks based on, local mandates. And we are also responsible for contact tracing. And so, by leveraging the lobby management functionality of Coconut, we know who has been in our branch, how many people are in there at any given time. And if we do need to reach out to customers, due to contact tracing purposes or just to know kind of who was in the branch that day, we have a way to do that versus, going to each associate and asking maybe who they visited with, or, if we utilized a kind of a sign-in sheet, in some of our markets. So I think there's just been some additional benefits. And, something we did that, was surprising is we started providing curbside service. So customers could pull up to a parking spot essentially and receive services, even open an account that they would traditionally have to come into a branch to do. So, and we make those appointments through Coconut as well. So I think just having to pivot, being creative, but then also just echoing what they said, don't assume that customers won't utilize this service just based on age or region. I think it's based on their willingness to accept new technology. They want the convenience of it. They want to know exactly what time they'll be seen and exactly how long it'll take so that they can plan their day accordingly. So I think that's just been a big surprise for us.
Sorry about that, everyone. Fascinating answers, I hope. I got the tail end of that one from Michelle. That's super interesting stuff about kind of how it's accelerated the change, and that's it's kind of surprised at people's adoption and members and banking customers' adoption of these new technologies. I think that's a really interesting factor here. So we move on to the next one here. So when you go out to find a vendor, a software vendor in general, what are some key attributes that you look for in a vendor, and why is that important as part of that kind of exercise? And maybe we'll start with Chris for this one.
Oh, thank you. I guess I'll put on my credit union hat here, and in my role as chairman of the board at a credit union. And I can tell you that obviously we look at the financials of a company we're going to. We do all our due diligence, but what it really comes down to is existing clients and core competency, right? Who's using the product that looks like me, right? What type of financial institution is using the product? Do they look like me? Do they act like me? Do they behave like me? Is their financial institution somewhat similar to mine? And obviously talking to those existing clients is going to be very important. And also the core competency piece, right? Is it a core competency? And I'll give you an example. I spent 18 years at Fiserv, as I mentioned before. Nobody can mess up a good idea more than Fiserv, right? Just there's so much complexity and bureaucracy in a company that large that it's going to take forever, and integration is going to take forever. Whereas a company that specializes in one thing is always going to be better at it than the larger company who specializes in multiple things, right? Because the smaller company wakes up in the morning, goes to bed at night thinking about this one thing, whereas the larger player in the marketplace has several other things to do and to think about. And you could go so far as to give the larger company source code and say, here you go, try and beat us. They're never going to do it because it's not a core competency. And I think that's one of them. It's often overlooked, but very important, the core competency piece. Yeah,
that's something that's really important of like why you would actually go with a vendor anyway, is that they're experts in that space, right? And so you need to like leverage those expertise and make use of that.
And we did that. There's another great example of in the early days of internet banking. I don't know if you remember that, because I'm old, right? I turned 50 last November, so I remember the early days of internet banking. And we actually had competition from Microsoft, right? Was going to get in there, and AOL was going to get in there. And they both failed to take hold because they were giant organizations that had other core competencies. And the internet banking providers that prevailed were all the people who focused on it solely. The perfect example of history repeating itself now with the appointment-based economy. Companies that focus on the appointment-based economy are going to always do better than the ones who focus on multiple things.
Yeah, for sure. Michelle, do you want to jump in on this idea of like what's really important when you're looking at different vendors?
For us, it's support long term. So, once the initial build and implementation phases are over, is that vendor still a partner? When a problem arises, or you have a question on, an additional use case or an idea that you might have for enhancing the tool itself, are they present? Are they willing to work with you? Or essentially, once they receive their payment, they're gone. And I think that's really critical to us, because we don't want to take advantage of something that essentially would become stale because it's not supported long term. So we look for a vendor that's willing to, once the product's in market, is willing to still work with us on just supporting it and enhancing it as the years or months go by.
Nice. Definitely keeping the partnership between vendor and customer is something that's really like a core value for me as part of our offering. So love that came up. And we did get a couple of questions through the Q&A. So we're just going to jump forward to the last of our canned questions so that we can get to the questions from the audience here. So this one was one suggestion that you'd like to share with the audience when it comes to selecting a vendor. So Michelle, is that the same answer, or do you have another suggestion in here?
So, I think for us, it's, we've worked with vendors or looked at vendors that just don't understand our culture. They don't understand, what our goals and objectives are, what our customer makeup is. And I think when choosing a vendor, it really comes down to, do they have the same values we do? Do they understand the importance of customer service, putting the customer first? And someone that's also willing to adapt and open to UX changes. Is it, I'm buying this out of the box and it is what it is, or are they willing to work with us on improving it or taking recommendations based on our customer feedback? So I think for us, it is really about, finding an organization or a vendor that shares the same values we do.
Yeah, really, really important. So Chris, as you're working with all these other vendors and all these credit unions here, is there something specific here that you think would be a good recommendation as a tips and tricks here?
Yeah, a couple things, right? When you're selecting a vendor, you're looking at, what I'm looking at is the management team, the founding team, the executive team at the vendor, and what kind of expertise do they have in this space that they're in, right? Checking that box is very important. And then the other thing I would suggest is more on the product side of thing is go out there and use it, right? Don't select it unless you use it. And here's a great example, right? Credit unions here in the US have been doing online account opening for a decade now or more, and none of the staff at the credit unions I talk to has ever gone out and used their online account opening, right? Like they don't know how it works, right? So digitally shop the products that you're looking for, right? If you have to join another financial institution to use the product, then join the other financial institution to use the product. But getting the end user's experience and internalizing that and understanding it is vital when you're selecting a product. So on the vendor side, I look at management. On the product side, use it.
Yeah, like you already have an account at your own institution, but like secret shopping the other institutions, that's a super interesting way that we also secret shop like that to figure out kind of what's going on in the existing solution. If a credit union or a bank already has some kind of appointment booking, going and secret shopping that and trying it out. That's a super interesting way of understanding what you're actually going to be buying.
Yeah, and you can learn what to do, and you can learn, most importantly, what not to do. What doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. So, Jay, do you have any input on this one here?
Just a quick one. I do agree with everything that's been said, and I think that in addition to that, I think that I always appreciate when a vendor takes and gives the same level of importance not only to our audience, to our members, but also to our staff. I want to see somebody who provides a clean, seamless, really good presentation for our staff to use, and also for our members. Sometimes, we put a lot of emphasis on the end result when we get it out to our members or clients, and we forget the people that are going to be using our product. So I really like it when vendors take the opportunity to understand what is the perspective from the person that actually is going to use it. If that's kept in mind, I think we're off to a great start.
That's so important, Jay. That like change management piece of actually getting your staff to engage with it and actually making sure that they can use it in their workflows is super important. And then the member experience, of course, is half of the reason why people get Coconut. So that's a really great call out. So We're going to move on to the questions from the audience here. So I'm going to pass it back over to Morgan to facilitate the Q&A.
Of course. Thanks, Andre. One of the first questions we have coming in to our panel is, what are the biggest challenges in moving from in-branch appointments to virtual, and what are some opportunities?
Who wants to take that?
This is Michelle. I think it goes back to the perception of what is an interpersonal or a humanized relationship. And I think, we always just saw that as a one-to-one in person, in the branch, in that physical brick and mortar location. And I think that's just changing even more so our associates' mindset than our customers. I think customers, again, want the convenience. They can have that conversation from their home. So that's, of course, something that they want. But just trying to train our associates and just change that mindset that, just because you're doing this by video or, over the phone even, it's still important to the customer. You're still providing a service, a valuable service. And I think we also, through Coconut, are able to solicit feedback from our customers. So when we complete an appointment, we send them a survey, and the feedback we get, I think it's important that is shared with our associates, because that's where you'll see the feedback from customers, that they appreciated the ability to have this conversation on the phone. They didn't have to get in their car and drive. They didn't have to expose themselves to, the risk of COVID-19. And so I think just being able to share that feedback with associates has really helped us get past the fact that, they didn't think that phone call was as personal as it would have been if they had come into the branch to have that conversation.
Yeah. So Jay, you had mentioned that you were surprised kind of at the adoption of your members for these kinds of new digital tools here, which is a positive lens on that. But did you find any challenges when you were trying to move out to these new kind of new tools here?
Sure. One of the challenges that I've found is the fact that, we keep very strict kind of standards in the way that we handle the interactions with our members from beginning to end. And sometimes when we move to virtual, we get a sense that we might be losing that, right? So I think, when you consider senior management and people that are engaging with our branches to see how our experience for our member is, we worry about that. We worry about, are we still keeping the same standards of experience that we had when we were meeting with people face to face? So again, I think Michelle touched on the feedback that we receive and the surveys and whatnot. Those are important factors, because when we move to virtual, from a senior management perspective, we get that sense that maybe we're losing a little bit of that member experience, and that it can definitely decline. But again, going back to the beginning, I think our members right now are looking for comfort and ability to function and to transact in a way that is convenient for them. So I think that people are embracing it. I think there's still a lot of work to be done, because there's some people that are reluctant, and that's where we come in. That's where we come in that educational piece.
Yeah, and Chris, you had talked about like layering on some new channels and not removing channels, but actually in this case, for many people, we did remove in-branch as a channel and had to go to just phone calls, for example. So kind of what is your perception here on this idea from in-branch to virtual, both the forced one and then the like more organic, like nice opportunity there?
Yeah. The move from in-branch to virtual was easy for South Bay Credit Union because we had implemented a video banking solution prior to the pandemic. The challenge with it is I think Michelle mentioned this, creating the same experience, or maybe it was Jay, creating the same experience for the member that they used to have in branch, now having it virtual. So that was a tremendous challenge that took, we were failing forward fast in that transition with our virtual branch, but now we've got it down to the point where the experience they're getting, the video quality, the information, the quality of the employee they're speaking with is all there. And the opportunities that have arisen from that are the same opportunities that traditionally came when people walked in your branches. The opportunity to interact with the consumer gives you the information you need to sell them or provide them the products or services that are right for them.
Yeah, that's great. Got another question.
It looks like we have, yes, it looks like we have room for probably one or two more questions. The next question that we have is, how many customers use the tool to make an appointment rather than just walking in?
So that's a pretty interesting one, because we do offer the lobby management solution. I actually don't remember, Jay, if we have that rolled out at Tandia. But do you want to start with that one? So kind of how many people still go to the branch versus booking an appointment?
Sure. Yeah, we're just starting now with the lobby management in two of our locations, which is great. When it comes to traditional methods or our alternate channels, pre-COVID, I think that we were looking at about 20%. Now, as we transition forward, we're looking at upwards of 50% was the last numbers that we were looking at. Again, keep in mind that for us, this is a huge jump because we were surprised by these numbers. To be very honest with you, we never thought that we would be having more than half of our members adopting in the way that we are right now. Credit unions in our area tend to typically have an older demographic. We usually have a little bit of a higher age on average, but we've seen quite the move, and we're really happy because this means that people are feeling more comfortable with it. And when they come into the branch, our staff are taking the time, if they did come into the branch, to say, did you know that next time we could potentially do this in this way? And I think that's extremely important because, as I said, people need for us to meet them where they are. And once we do, then they'll feel more comfortable to use the tools that we're putting out in front of them. So to answer the question, we were at about 20, and now we're over, I would say, about 55% currently.
Michelle, do you know those numbers at Arvest?
So we actually rolled Coconut software out during the pandemic. So, it's hard for us to have kind of a baseline to say, pre versus post. And so, I will say that several of our locations will only take appointment customers because the lobbies are still closed. More than half of our lobbies are still closed just based on staffing and again, the communities we're in and the COVID numbers. So, we really have relied on the Coconut software to help manage our traffic and appointments. And also, with so many of our associates working remotely, it's a better experience for that customer to have an appointment versus driving to the branch and only to find out that mortgage lender or investment officer is working remotely or isn't at that branch that day. And that would happen before the pandemic, where, you had associates that covered multiple branches or were at lunch even, for instance. And so customers would come hoping to have a conversation, but couldn't. And so I think providing the ability for them to schedule appointments is really a benefit to the customer versus them walking in only to find out that, we can't help them with that particular service, just again, based on staffing or the amount of customers that are in the lobby that day. So unfortunately, I don't have, pre-COVID numbers, but, again, a lot of our locations, it is appointment only. We don't have the luxury of walk-in traffic because of those lobbies being closed.
That's 100%. So that's
For
a good
some,
number,
it's 100%.
Michelle.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we are actually at the time here. I really want to thank everybody for giving your time for us today. We do have a couple of other webinars coming up from Coconut. We're going to post some links here. So if you're interested in the future of financial engagements as envisioned by Coconut, you should check those out. We have a credit union focused one on the 11th and then another one on the 16th that's focused more on the banks. Morgan.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andre. And I want to thank our audience for joining us today, and a huge thank you and round of applause to our speakers, Michelle, Chris, and Jay. Fantastic job, you guys, and thank you for delivering all that great insight. And for our audience, if you submitted a question that we didn't get to, we'll follow up with you by email shortly, and you can look forward to receiving this full presentation directly to your email inbox within 24 hours, so keep a lookout for that. Also, please remember to leave some feedback and suggestions for us at the survey at the close of this webinar. We'll use that feedback to guide us in providing upcoming webinar topics so that we can keep giving you exactly what you want. So with that, I'll bring this program to an end. On behalf of Coconut, Future Branches, and the WBR Insights, we thank you for your time. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.